Society, when we see lolly in manga and anime. Society, when we see Shota and MILFs. Today we will talk about a Giga Chad with mind so determined it can bench 280. He is too powerful for any anime world to contain, therefore he may only exist in this manga. When most of us still haven't figured out the meaning of life, he has already chosen his fate the moment he savored the first drop of calcium beverage. Just look at the sheer determination in his eyes. This is a man who knows what he wants, them giga juggers and milky donkers. This gorgeous lady with a big heart and personality is a kid's English teacher. She just received a formal proposal from one of her students, Shukun. Like any functioning adult, she takes it as a naive kid's nonsensical fantasy and dismisses it by saying she will consider it when the little Chad becomes a bit bigger. How big? Shokun asked. Maybe 6 inches. Unfortunately, our boy is a bit small and cannot satisfy his beloved sensei right now. The MILF definitely wants someone bigger to be happy. So she brushes over our Chad's advances but keeps on teaching him until middle school. Shokun still comes over to visit her weekly despite having long graduated, checking if she has found herself a boyfriend yet. Unfortunately for Sensei, the sweet little time came to an abrupt end when Shokun entered high school. He stopped visiting her altogether. Sensei sits on the floor and cracks open a can of beer. A tipsy sensation slowly consumes Sensei as she starts to reminisce about the time when she was in her popular phase. Kids recently go into a relationship as little as elementary school, yet none of them have confessed their love to her. I wonder if they are intimidated by the 2 insurmountable objects our sensei always carry around with. You see this piece of tough fabric holding on for dear life? Such is life, and sometimes you are under a lot of pressure and tension. Those sufferings may cause you to overlook the happiness and treasure around you. They can often be right beneath. When she is alone after all students are gone, the MILF often starts drinking and contemplating life. What could have gone wrong? She is at the fine age of 35, yet still has not a boyfriend. Listen, guys. I have a theory. I think I understand the 99% of the male population who did not dare approaching her, because if I see this, I too will be too hard to walk. Once again, the memory of Shokun proposing to her as a child appears in her mind. Maybe feeling a little jealous and disappointed, Sensei begins thinking perhaps Sho found himself a girlfriend, which is also why he stopped visiting her. To fight the depressing mood, she falls down backward on the tatami mat and thinks to herself just how wonderful it will be for someone to suddenly show up and propose to her like our boy Sho did. Next, she takes out her phone and starts browsing Tinder. Suddenly, a ring on the door disturbs the peace. Our cute sensei wobbles to the front door thinking it is the delivery of a bra she ordered online, which is natural to think about because I cannot fathom how many pairs one would break if they possessed the giga badonkers. Unexpectedly, a rather familiar yet manly voice came from the door as the MILF opens it. It was none other than Shoutarou, or Shukun as we know it. The Giga Chad himself finally makes an appearance after so many flashbacks, and as promised, he is back to fulfill his duty. Now that he is 18 and 6 inches, he can finally say proudly, "Please marry me, Sensei." Shoutaro stared deeply into Sensei's soul and proposed to her once again, making her earlier fantasy of a sudden proposal come true. The boy in front of us is no longer the Giga Chad Shota we know. He is now a family-sized Omega Chad. With a newly improved hairstyle, he said goodbye to the old spiky boy. The situation has finally registered in Sensei's brain. She is now as shocked as when my parents saw my GPA. The once adorable little kid has grown into a desirable man that hits the center of her date zone. Processing, please wait. Nothing scares our boy more than awkward silence now, especially right after he gave a confession. He is worried that perhaps he has grown too big for Sensei's liking. Well, nothing is too big for Sensei. She likes it big. She is into big guys. Since he is 18 now, he can legally engage in all sorts of body extension exercises with his beloved Sensei without worrying about FBI-kun barging in. On the other hand, our MILF can finally reap the rewards of the fruit she has accidentally planted decades earlier. Let's switch things up a bit and see what Shoutarou has been up to for the past few years. It was a hot summer. The little Shokun wasn't a firm believer in physics back then, but on that day he knew Isaac Newton was right. Otherwise, how could anyone explain the reason he cannot move his eyes away from the galactic spherical objects? Shukun.exe has stopped responding. He is engulfed by the sheer volume of them personalities. At this moment, a woman barges out and apologizes on behalf of Shoutarou for misbehaving. Then the MILF explains the reason for her visit. She recently opened an English conversation school nearby. So she is wondering if they will be interested in attending cram school. Suddenly, little Shoutarou busts out what I can only describe as the sorriest English mankind has ever witnessed, in an attempt to attract the female's attention. To such pathetic appeal, the English teacher responds, "Engulishu jutsu desu ne." Then, the little guy pleads his mum to go to the cram school, all for the purpose of seeing this woman every so often. In fact, he has no interest in English at all, but his PP took over that day. On that day, with the wrong motivation, little Shoutarou walked into the classroom for the first time. Before him kneels the woman with ultimate proportions even the Greek gods have never seen. She is attempting to teach our boy how to say, "easy peasy lemon squeezy," but lemon is too hard of a word to pronounce for the kid. As we know, Japanese often confuse L with R in English because of the Romanji pronunciation, which is why we totally need the following demonstration. Sensei directs the boy's attention to her succulent and shiny lips and proceeds to make the following sound, while covering the pre-puberty child with her airborne saliva. With an almost inviting expression, Sensei finished the word, lemon. However, lemon is not the only thing she finished. She also managed to finish our boy. On that day, puberty came early. Little Shoutaro has never felt something like this before. Looking at those lips, he probably grew by an inch or two. In middle school, Shoutaro was talking about his crush to his friends. Sadly, the two mere mortals could not understand the ideal of our boy. They made fun of Shou's admirable goal and even joked that maybe Sensei already has a boyfriend. Someone of her age is too old for middle schoolers such as them. What they didn't know was, a wise man once said, age is just a number. Shoutarou grew angry just thinking about the possibility of his crush getting a boyfriend. He grabbed the collar of his friend's uniform and lifted him up in the air, threatening that such thought not only belittles his noble goal of marriage, but also defames the beautiful Onisan. However, it is true that the road ahead of him is tough. They will not turn 18 years old for another 5 years. A lot can happen in between. The boys will grow more mature and cease to look the way they were before. Even if the teacher liked him back then, would that still hold true in 5 whole years? The thought of being rejected filled Shoutarou with anxiety. On that day, he determined to visit his teacher's place weekly to confirm her affairs and study her interests. As a result, he picked up baseball. He started using hair wax to resemble a player Sensei liked. He worked so hard to be the man she liked. He even went to the hospital for it. He is diagnosed with a medical condition that often happens to teenage athletes that work too hard. Accompanying him was a debilitating pain every time he used his knees. For 2 entire years, Shou suffered aching pain throughout his whole body. At the same time, he started growing rapidly. His facial definition becomes sharper, resembling more of an adult than that of a child. Looking at the mirror, Shou remembered what his friend once said, the possibility that he would grow into a man that his crush dislikes. The growing sensation of fear dawned upon him more and more, which ultimately caused him to stop seeing Sensei. On day in high school, a side character appears, attempting to seduce our Omega Chad with a love confession. Seeing just how pathetic her assets are, Shoutaro outright rejected her. Man's dream is to conquer the mountains he once set his gaze upon, not some grass fields. As for the reason of rejection, we have guessed it. He still holds the unyielding love for his childhood crush. The overwhelming fear did not waver his love for Sensei at all. On the way back home, MC's 2 friends grilled him hard for rejecting the girl, though they understood his reasoning. They will soon turn 18. Shoutarou had changed so much since then he may even give a shock to his teacher when they meet again. He even proudly held up her favourite baseball player, saying he now resembles Hagi more than ever. This might give him an edge during the confession he was about to make. And this is how our MC's first love came to a manifestation. Back to the current timeline. The sheer size of MC stuns our MILF. Even for her, he has grown so big. Look at how excited she is seeing his volume. To our boy, his Sensei has never changed. She is as cute as the day he met her over a decade ago. The teacher put both of her hands around her head and shakes it rapidly, hardly containing her emotions. She is afraid the alcohol has taken over her, and she is hearing things. For a stunning guy at his prime to love someone 17 years older than him is beyond belief. Just as Sensei is about to throw out the after careful consideration, "We are sorry to inform you" card, Mac interrupts her chant with a hug like a top G. He reminds him that he is no longer a child, Now that he is over 6 inches, he deserves to be treated like an adult. Resting in his warm hug, all sorts of memories come back to Sensei. She remembers the half-hearted promise to consider his proposal when he is 18. She grows emotional for a while but breaks free from his hug. With a loud voice, she rejects his proposal for fear of FBI-kun. No matter how hard MC tries to appear like an adult, she is not going to fold. In an attempt to cover his flustered heart, she redirects the topic back to Sho, saying a student should respect curfews and should never come unannounced at 7. Sensei is even mad at the proposal itself. A student like Shoutarou can never provide when he does not even have a job, not to mention taking her as a wife and starting a family. Marriage is more than simply dating. Such holy words are not easily spoken in the mind of our teacher. Only when someone is ready to take on full responsibility could they consider making a marriage proposal. Sensei's unexpected serious explanation surprises the MC. Or so we thought. The Chad is simply mesmerized by the MILF's captivating beauty and paying respect to the law of universal gravitation. Dissatisfied with how light-hearted MC behaved, Sensei ushers him out of the doorway and tells him to go home. Shoutarou turns back his head and asks her if she will take him seriously if he graduates and finds a job. But this is too much for the MILF teacher. She needs time to process such things, and there should be steps ahead of marriage, for example, dating. The flustered Sensei wants to backstep out of the promise due to embarrassment. She is much older than a typical high school student and has a bland personality. Nowadays, she just drinks booze and lays around the household to kill time. In her mind, her only redeeming quality is that she speaks English and is able to teach some to children. She is nothing special. Sensei suddenly remembers her last date. The guy she was with tells her outright that she has a boring personality. The only reason he even dated her is because of her giga proportions, ideal for snoo-snoo. However, she did not allow him to do that to her. Whenever they get into the mood, she will always escape with a childish excuse. It is evident that she does not want to commit to a scum ojisan. Such an experience left a scar in her mind. Sensei lost self-confidence and thinks anyone dating her would find her lack of personality boring. Little did she know. First rule of an Omega Chad: never take no for an answer. Shoutaro asks with a smile if Sensei likes him because it is the only thing that matters at the moment. Hearing such words recalled so many memories. Countless times have Shokun confessed his love for her, and countless times was he dismissed, yet never has he given up. Hearing such words again brought our teacher to tears. She stares deeply into Shoutaro's gaze, stunned, not able to speak a word. Once again, the same words spoken from the very same lips at a very different time. Sho gently grips the front of Sensei's right hand. He slowly raises her hand towards his lips, kissing the back of her hand, swearing his eternal love for her. Damn. My single ass feels so lonely right now I can settle for a peanut butter now. The heartwarming confession just now makes our kawaii Sensei doki doki as fuck. Shu apologizes for having such an important conversation on this day at this time. He promises her to think carefully about the next steps, but at the same time, he is willing to show her his determination by becoming a fully functioning member of society. Then he will come back and confess to her over and over again until one day Sensei finds her happiness, even if that fated partner is not him. Sensei is not satisfied with the response. She wants to know why Shoutaro has chosen her instead of the many young girls surrounding him in high school. The answer was simple. It was a love at first sight for 8 straight years. To the 8 years of waiting, what even is a few more weeks of pending time? Our boy also brings the topic back to Sensei's personality. He refuses to believe that she is a boring person. To him, the teacher he knows is always cute, occasionally mischievous, and the most interesting when flustered. The few times when she is sloppy is yet another point of adoration. Ever since the date they met for the first time, she has always been the sun warming his heart and guiding his ways. As of the making of this video, the manga has 12 chapters. This video covers up to chapter 3. The manga name is in the pinned comment below. We upload weekly, so if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching until the end.